Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to share this video and this story of my testimony with you guys. I've never made a video like this before. I'm about to be super vulnerable with you guys, so I hope that it gives off the right message and it reaches the right people. If my voice sounds a little weird, I'm sorry. I just volunteered at my son's school. And let me tell you something. 5, 6-year-olds, they're wild, okay? But we had a time, unfortunately, at the sacrifice of my voice, but I just really feel compelled to share this story today and offer my testimony on how I opened my heart to God and invited Him into my life, and now it's changed my life for the better. So let me start off by saying I am a preacher's grandchild. My granddad used to have his own church and he's a pastor, and my grandma was the first lady, so he would be up there preaching and my grandma would be in the front pew supporting him, and she used to play the piano and direct the choir sometimes. So very much so God was introduced to me at a young age. However, I did not build my relationship with him up until recently, and because of that, I feel like I suffered a lot. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, I really suffer from abandonment issues. Abandonment of one parent, inconsistency of a relationship with one parent. I didn't realize how much it really affected me until I got older and more mature and started trying to be more self-aware. So I've been able to intellectualize maybe the effects of not having a father in my life consistently has had on me as a person, but also my self-confidence and my relationships, whether it be romantic or platonic. It definitely affected those. Like I said, I can intellectualize all of that, but I was not sure how to move past it. Therefore, I struggled and I didn't handle things in the best way. I feel like I often unknowingly self-sabotaged, and I had a hard time navigating my emotions. And oftentimes those emotions spilled out inappropriately. And this has been like my life, just like cycles of these consequences of abandonment or having like an anxious attachment style. More recently, my life has been put on pause, and I know it's God. I know it's God because I've really just been at home waiting. I'm in transition. And as much as I wanted to move left and right and get things done and utilize my degrees and all those things, it just was not happening. And this has happened to me before. This happened one other time in my life where I feel like God has told me to be still. Back then, it was because God wanted me to spend time with my grandma. When I graduated college, I did not find a job. It took me like 4 months to find a job. And I truly believe that's because God wanted me to stay home and be with my grandma, who unfortunately passed away from COPD. But those last 3 months of her life, I feel like He wanted me to be there because He knew how important she was to me. And I could not understand, like, God, I'm putting in all these job applications. I did what I needed to do. Why am I not able to find employment to start my life? And I was angry and I was frustrated and I couldn't understand it. But looking back now, I see that's why He put my life on pause at that point, because He wanted me to spend time with Miss Rose. Of late, I've been experiencing that again. The same shift in where God is telling me to be still. And I did the same thing. I started panicking. I'm like, God, I don't understand. I mean, at this point, not only do I have degrees, but I have experience. There's so many opportunities on this base. I live on a military base. And I don't understand. And I started to feel like these negative emotions, because I mean, I was grateful. I seen my husband excelling and loving his career, my son excelling and just growing exponentially in every way. And then I'm just here, and I'm not where I want to be. I'm not able to contribute. I just felt like I was just literally put on pause. So this actually resulted in me having a lot of downtime and quiet time to myself. While my husband was at work and while my son was at school, I'm at home. So I have a lot of time to think. And you know what happened? I feel like the enemy used that time to try to get to me, because I started having some really, really negative thoughts. And it was so crazy. I know it was the enemy, because the thoughts were pertaining to my presence here as a wife and as a mother. I know for a fact that my husband and my son need me and they love me and they would not want me to go anywhere. But my thoughts were telling me something different. And I remember it got really bad. I started to spiral. And to be honest, I started to be afraid of being home by myself. Like, I don't have friends up here. I don't have people who I can just call. I did not want to put that negative energy on my mom or my sisters or my aunts. They're always there for me. But I did not want to, everybody's going through their own things. So I was just sitting up here spiraling. And my husband knows me. I know he can tell that something was probably a little off. But he's just so happy and content where he is. I didn't want to bring him down with me or make him worry. But it got to the point where I was afraid to be at home by myself, because it seemed like as soon as they would go about their day and the house got quiet, I would start to spiral. And that's not like me. I have no problem being by myself. I'm a bit of a loner. Like, one thing about me is I'm going to have a good time by myself. It didn't matter how much sun I got, how many supplements I took, how many walks I took, how many Netflix series I tried to get into to kind of dissociate. It didn't matter. I was having those thoughts and I was losing control. And it got pretty dark and it got pretty scary. I think that I hit rock bottom. Because there's a difference between having those negative thoughts and feelings and then starting to create a plan. So I was at rock bottom. And I'll be completely honest. One of the main thoughts that I was having, or that the enemy was giving me, was that I'm in the way. That they would be better off without me being here. Which killed me. Because that's a direct attack. Because if you know me, I'm crazy about my guys. I hit rock bottom, and something about in the back of my mind was like, you need to go to church. Because you're being attacked. Like, I kept saying, like, my brain is being so mean to me. It's not my brain. It's the enemy trying to take me out. And I remember the Sunday that I gave my life to Christ. That morning I took a walk, and I had been listening to a lot of self-love podcasts, because there are just so many things that I was dealing with under the umbrella of abandonment. Like, it affects so many things, and I was trying to build myself up. And I remember walking and thinking, let me evaluate myself and think about the things that I need to work on as a person. I came up with like a handful of things that I feel like I needed to work on. So let's keep that in mind and continue with the conversation or with the story. We get to church that day. My husband was like, let's go to church. So we got ready. As soon as we walk into church, I feel like I just wanted to cry. Before we got there, I was already feeling down. I was trying to hold it together. But I wanted to just let it all out. I felt so relieved to be there. And here's the thing, like, I'm a super vulnerable person, but I try not to be in public because I feel like people who are not able to receive your vulnerability or like your big heart or your compassion, they kind of look at you weird. They'll coin you as emotional or unstable or dramatic. And that has literally been my experience. So I've learned to reel it back because not everybody deserves to see me that way and get that type of energy. A lot of times it's not reciprocated. But when I walked into church that day, instantly tears just started to fall. And I started to not care about who's around me watching me. I made the choice to actively listen during the service. I was listening to the music because, I mean, that's how I feel like I've always connected the most in general. I'm a musician. So I was listening to the words of the music and everything was just so beautiful. And I started feeling like it was for me. And then the preacher, this is what got me. I felt like the message or the sermon that the preacher gave that morning was for me. Actually, I'm positive it was for me. Because remember how I told you guys the morning before church, I took a walk and I kind of mentally noted 5 things about myself that I wanted to work on. In his sermon, he included those things. I don't want to go into detail because I feel like that's a thing between me and God. But I will say this. The word that he chose for that morning, or that God chose that morning, and I'm paraphrasing this scripture, but God will never leave or forsake you. Granted, I've heard that before so many times, but I actually received it that morning. And I feel like it correlated directly. It was the answer to how I was feeling. I felt abandoned and it hurt. I never really talk about it. I never talk about how bad not having my dad in my life makes me feel. It's complex. It's complex. There's a lot of components to it. A lot of different emotions. But if I can just give you an adjective, a general adjective, it makes me feel bad that this person does not love me enough to stick around. And that he thinks that it's all on me to develop that relationship. But when I do try to develop that relationship, it's never permanent. It's almost as if he thinks that I want something from him. And literally all I want is love. Consistent love. So to hear that scripture that day, God will never leave or forsake you, I felt like that was God telling me, even though you're experiencing this with your earthly father, I'm here for you and I'm never going to leave you. The preacher starts, like I said, talking about things and situations that related to everything that I was thinking of during my walk that morning. And I was just like sitting there just listening. And it was so crazy is we were like sitting right in the middle. Right in the middle. So everything he was saying, I felt like I was just here receiving it. And then at the end of his message, he said, My heart is beating so fast because I'm trying not to cry. He said, if you don't have a father in your life, look to God. God is your father. My heart was just beating out of my chest. I've never felt that close to God before. I felt like he was talking to me. And I looked over at my husband and I was trying to like tell him, like motion to him, like, hey, I'm about to go up to the altar. And he grabs my hand and my son's hand and we all went together. And I was like pulling them because I was never so sure that that's where I needed to be. Laid it all out. I laid it all out. As the woman was praying for us, I listened to what she was saying, but I was also asking God to just take the pain, please. Take the pain. I gotta get myself together. Take the pain. Like, I literally cannot take it anymore. I want to grow. Like, I want to be the woman that I know you made me to be. So it was an amazing experience. And after leaving church, I just felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my chest and shoulders. I went home and I napped for 2.5 hours. And during my nap, I had a dream about my grandma. My grandma passed away in 2015. I have not had a dream about her. I think about her every single day. And like my sister or my mom would say, oh, you know, she visited me in my dream. And I used to be like, she didn't visit me. But she visited me in my dream. And the dream was a bit chaotic, but I get it. So I was at work, I'm guessing, and there was a whole bunch of people in the room. And I was just felt like I was being pulled in a million different directions because I was trying to get everybody just like set, you know? The energy was good, but I was frazzled because it was like, I've done everything that I can do. I've signed these people in and got them situated, but they're taking forever in the back. And I look over to like the back of the room to the left and I see my grandma. And she looks healthy and young. She looks like she did before she got sick. And I went over there and in my head I'm like, I'm just gonna give my grandma a quick hug and then I'll get back to her after they start calling people back. I don't know where they were. But I looked at her and I was like, Grandma. And she was like, she was crying, but it looked happy, like happy tears. Looking at me like how she used to. Just like proud. And she was like dabbing her eyes, trying to keep it together. And in my head, I'm just like, I'm gonna have to get back to her. But I still came over. I gave her a hug. And I kissed her cheek and she felt warm. She felt warm. And I smelled her. And she didn't say anything. But I went back up, I guess, and continue what I was doing. And then I woke up. And it was almost as if like that confirmed that I made the right choice today or that day. My grandma visited me and her being proud of me. And I mean, it all seemed like a big metaphor. Like it kind of, the dream put together how I was feeling. And then after that, like the week after that, I mean, blessings on top of blessings on top of blessings. And I'm no longer still. I got an amazing call. I'm about to be back in my career. And all because I opened my heart to God. And I think maybe he you know, put me on pause for a little bit because he realized that I needed to develop that relationship with him. or else I was gonna go crazy. I don't know where I would have ended up if I would have kept. I don't even want to think about it, because that's the past. And since then, I've been making a true effort to build my relationship with God, because it's a relationship and I'm taking it very serious, and I will always take it serious because He saved me. He saved me. Only He knew what I was going through. And since then, I've been feeling lighter. I've been feeling more upbeat, happier, because I know how to cope now. Before, my emotions were all over the place because I was lost. I know where to go now. I know where to look now when I need encouragement, or when I feel down, or when I feel like I need a friend or a father. I can just read His word, listen to gospel music. And what's so crazy is I already know how to look for His word, because these things were kind of instilled in me from youth, from being a preacher's grandkid. So I know what songs to listen to. I'm familiar with some scriptures. I know that I like to read, so I'm starting to find literature that supplements my Bible so that I can understand it more. I know how to pray from the heart, and I'm just trying to continue to build the relationship that I have with God, and I'm so happy. And I know I look tearful, but it's just because I'm filled with love, and it's just overflowing. Like, this is the love that I've always wanted, and it's always been there, available to me. But sometimes you just have to figure it out on your own. You know, even though I was given the tools and the knowledge, it was up to me to actually let Him in my heart and build that relationship. And I'm so glad that I did. So that is my testimony. I'm so glad that I got that all out. Hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that somebody received it, and that somebody will open their heart to God as well. And I will see you guys in the next one.